California is amazing. It's an amazing climate. We have a 365-day-a-year growing season. There is no stop button for growing food here, especially if you're dealing with specialty crops and you're diversified. We can constantly be growing something new.
Farming is for everybody. You don't have to have a lot of land to grow anything. You can grow in a small pot, you can grow something on your windowsill, and it's what you make of it. That's really what matters.
It's very nice to know that there's still spaces like this within the city, because when you live in a concrete jungle, you're disconnected to where your food supply is and where all your waste goes as an end product.
Every single urban farm is different. Every urban farm is juggling their own set of resources and skills to make the thing happen. So for me, it's being an educator and utilizing the farm on that basis and leaning into the opportunities to share what I know.
It's one thing to just have a cup or something that says it's compostable, but to actually see food scraps turn into just brown dirt, it's kind of amazing to see.
Once you get into it, once you cook something or grow something or cook something with what you've grown, there's a feeling of accomplishment that you can't learn anywhere else.
Being able to sustain your own life through the act of growing food is a very powerful thing. Everyone loves magic, and there's something magical about taking something, a little seed with all this potential, and turning it into something that you can eat in a meal. That gives you life to keep living. I mean, that's wild.
Cottonwood Urban Farm is an urban farm located in the middle of the city. A place where you can come and enjoy nature, get your hands dirty, and connect with other people.
So we got garlic, scallions, onions, carrots, cherry tomato, chard, lettuce, beets, radishes, artichoke, all grown here in my backyard.
We're situated on 1.5 acres of resident agricultural land, and we grow seasonal crops. We raise ducks for eggs, occasionally meat, and we have bees, but that's mainly for pollination. Sometimes we sell the honey. I was born and raised here in the San Fernando Valley. If you asked me when I was high school age, oh, are you gonna be doing anything in agriculture or are you gonna have a farm? Absolutely not. That wasn't in my mind at all. So it's just something that sort of evolved through life and circumstance.
We have open farm days out here on Saturdays from 9 to 12. We also have programs like gardening classes, cooking classes that I host. We have a lot of field trips come out with young kids, and they follow Elliot through the farm, and he teaches them about every little thing that's happening out here.
You're looking at systems and how they're interacting. So you can hear my ducks quacking off in the background. That's my pest management, right? These ducks are voraciously eating grubs and insects all through the garden. They eat the weeds. They're pooping everywhere, which is really awesome high nitrogen fertilizer. They're an important part, right? Otherwise, I would be out there having to hand weed everything, or maybe I'd have to put even more fertilizer. So integrating, right, the animal husbandry into the production.
I really hate wasting food, just the way I was grown up. So I always wanted to not put it in like a plastic bag in a landfill. The way the world is going, I feel that everything was made with a natural life cycle. Things grow and things decompose. And when things decompose, they feed the soil, and the soil feeds the plants, feeds the animals. It's a regenerative cycle.
Composting is taking nitrogen-based waste and carbon-based waste, layering them, mixing and blending them together, providing moisture, and letting fungal activity, microbial activity, break that stuff down so that the end result is something that can be blended back into soil and reconsumed by plants as nutrients. In simple terms, it's taken wood chips, food scraps, blend it together in a huge pile, spray it with water, and let it break down over a period of months. And that's it. It's not complex. It's food for plants. You know, it's food for the earth. It's what's going on a forest floor, but we do it in bigger piles and we take it from, you know, sources in an urban environment. We run a regional composting site for a nonprofit called LA Compost. And so these are our big, what we call windrows. If I dig in here, you can see the steam coming out of here. It's about 140 degrees inside this pile. And the heat's from the active decomposition inside this pile. So things will live inside this pile, fungus breaks down, we turn it, we move it, it goes on to the other side. And this whole process from food waste and wood chips to finished compost takes about 8 months. So it's a slow process, but one where we're continually adding to it and moving the pile. But then we go one step further and we take that material and we feed it to worms. There's worms everywhere, hundreds of thousands of worms. And so what they're doing is they further refine this material. And so this is compost that we've made here out of food scraps and wood chips. But they take it, and if we dig deeper, what we wind up with is what we call worm castings. This stuff is amazing, amazing. It holds shape, it breaks apart, and it's filled with nutrients that are readily available to plants and trees alike. And this is after the process of being refined by the worms. And this has worm eggs in it, so if you put this in your garden, you can grow worms too, and then just the cycle continues. But I found no better organic fertilizer than worm castings to use in the garden. We're in our demonstration garden, as we call it, and this is where we do row crop vegetables, and we show folks how you can grow a lot of food in a really small space. We practice crop rotation and other sustainable practices here, but it's where we grow a bunch of seasonal vegetables, and I kind of love this spot because it changes with the seasons. We're finishing out kind of winter crops, which are leafy greens and root vegetables, and we're moving towards, you know, spring and summer. So tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, all that great stuff. Radishes are one of the specialty crops we grow here. These grow super quick. From the time you put a seed in the ground to when I pull a radish can be as little as 25 days. Really, really quick crop. They're really, really tasty, but they also grow really quick, so you get that experience of growing something from seed to table. These are 2 weeks along. These are watermelon radish. So you can see that tap root. These are the little feeder roots. And then this part right here is what will swell into a bulb. And this will be a really, really tasty treat. These also, radish greens, really, really good as well. A lot of people just tear them off and throw them away, but the radish greens themselves are really nice as well. Here we're in a small space and we try to turn over the crops really quickly and plant things in succession. So we seeded this bed. These are all little radishes. These are about a week and a half after those. And then this empty bed we'll plant again today. So that's also this trick of production, right? Continuing to seed, harvest, and move through the various specialty crops you're growing. This is actually our state flower here in California. This is the California poppy. Keeping native plants in and around your garden brings native insects, beneficial insects. It's about bringing this native ecology into the garden. There's hundreds of native bees and wasps and stuff like that that make use of these flowers, along with the honeybees. So we kind of have all these different flowers scattered along our walkways. Any fruit you can think of starts as a flower, all right? So this is a nectarine tree, really great white nectarine called Arctic Star. But here it is as a flower, makes a little flower. Those beautiful bees over there come over, they visit that flower, they do their little dance inside, they blend the pollen together. And so what you can start to see is the journey from flower into fruit. So here's an old flower you can see right in the center, right? That little fruit is starting to emerge. There's the old flower, boom. This continues to swell. And by the time we get into mid-May, these will be full ripe nectarines. All of these big flowers have the potential to turn into apricots. Really, really cool. So like here's a little baby apricot. Any fruit you can think of, peaches, apples, nectarines, bananas, mangoes, any fruit does this journey. It gets really hot here in the summer. So around August, late July, August, I stop with that demonstration garden. I turn off the water and I open up the gates and the ducks get to eat everything in there. And we let the garden rest August, September, and then we start building beds again in October. That's part of the sustainability process I build in. It's great to let the ducks get in there and just go ham, poop. They do this thing drilling, they rub their beaks in the ground. So just a good animal husbandry practice each season. Duck eggs are awesome. We've got about 24 ducks. During the height of the season, we're getting 8 dozen eggs a week. So it's a lot and it's really great. We sell it at our market and it's a good side benefit of the inputs we're putting into the ducks. You absolutely do not need a lot of space to grow food. Having land and a ton of space does not need to be a limiting factor at all. Anything can be grown in and you just have to, you learn about the plants, right? Like things that need really deep root systems like tomatoes, you gotta have a big container. You wanna grow a little flat of radishes, maybe you only need about 3 inches of soil in there. You start to learn what you can use and get creative.
If you grow what you like, you can't help but enjoy it. Give it a try. At least do that. At least try it, and if you didn't like it then that's okay too. Like, you don't have to love it. But I'd like to almost guarantee that if you give it a try, you might get hooked.
Tomato's not something that just magically appears in a food pyramid stacked at your local Ralph's, right? There's a whole story and situation that's going on behind that. And I think by taking a journey to your local farm stand, your farmer's market, is you getting to realize where this food comes from. You get to see the faces and the hands of the people that are bringing you sustenance.
I feel like lots of people lost their connection with nature just because of convenience, because of manufacturing. Things are easier, and just think about 100, 200 years ago, lots of we didn't even have plastics or any of this stuff, and everyone lived fine for hundreds or thousands of years.
We live in a globalized world. We can have apples all year round because they can be shot in a plane up here from Chile when we don't have them. But you can really get into the seasons and understanding that things come at certain times of year. That apple that you've been waiting for that only comes in fall, winter is going to taste a lot sweeter than if you just, I can have them whenever I want. So it's part of that process, I think, of reconnecting back into where it actually comes from. And you're supporting your local economy, and I think that's an important thing too.
I hope everybody can walk out feeling confident in themselves, in maybe a new skill they've learned, in talking to others. It's very satisfying and fulfilling, and you can't help but connect to what you're doing, and more importantly, connect to yourself.
The title I put on my business card was Cultivator, right? A cultivating of experience, situations, connections. That's what I'm invested in, and so that's what we're doing here. Food and growing it happens to be the seed of that whole thing. I just pulled a carrot out of the ground and ate it as my little halftime snack, and it was delicious. That's so cool. Those are seeds that I put in the ground, red sun carrots, back in November. And here we are in March, and I just got to pull a carrot out of the ground and eat it. It is better than any carrot I buy in the store. That's awesome. I'm still very young in this journey, but I'm gonna lean into more of this idea of teaching people to get stoked on the idea of growing their own food. I don't know where it'll go, but I know it'll keep growing.